I've been making some bad decisions recently, scratching a brand new rental car being one of them. And some other decisions which I'm not going to get into. But anyway, I've been reflecting as to why we make bad decisions in life. You know, those small decisions, micro moments, or the big ones that we make every now and then which subtly ruin our lives. And I'm going to share these 6 reasons I've found with you right now so that you can become more aware as to why you make bad decisions and then prevent yourself from making worse decisions in the future. Then I'm going to walk you through one easy solution to wrap up this whole video which will help you stop making bad decisions right now. Okay, the first reason as to why the main 3 reasons as to why we make bad decisions before we get into the deeper stuff are depletion, avoidance, and activation. Now these are going to make more sense as we walk through the deeper 6 reasons why, but just as a entry point of self-compassion here, especially if you are reflecting on how annoyed you feel at some decisions you've made recently, the first question you need to ask yourself to reflect on them isn't why did I mess up? It's what state was I in? And you can notice that helps you feel slightly lighter when you reflect on some decisions which come to mind, which you would label as bad. It's not a character flaw on your side. It's not a sign of a broken personality. As these 3 reasons highlight, it's all about the state you're in when you was making this decision. So let's unpack what this means at a deeper level by covering the first reason as to why we make bad decisions. Again, with the purpose of raising our awareness, because to become aware of something is to solve it. First reason. The first reason as to why we make bad decisions is due to decision fatigue. You see, when you make multiple micro decisions or big decisions very often throughout your days and weeks, your brain slowly downgrades quality. And by micro decisions, what I mean is admin that you have to take care of, deciding what to wear every day, what to do, where to work, where to organise your stuff if you're in a state of geographical uncertainty, just as a few quick examples. Every decision you make slowly depletes your brain if that decision keeps resurfacing, because there is an element of you make a decision and you reclaim energy back because you've closed the loop of the decision. That usually applies to the bigger stuff in life, like the admin you need to sort out, where to live, who to be with, all of those important decisions. But all of the micro decisions, if you have to decide what to wear every day, where you're going to get your food from, all the little micro bits of admin, that slowly depletes your brain. And in a state of depletion, your brain is always going to optimize for convenience over your standards, your principles and your values and your guiding principle and your guiding compass in life. It's always going to pick easy over aligned, and it's always going to pick now rather than later. So the area of compassion here is to understand that if you feel like you're making bad decisions in life, you might just be tired and you might just be fatigued, and there might be a lot of areas of life that are demanding a lot of your focus and attention right now. So the key way you can notice this is pay attention to the signal here, which is if you feel reactive rather than responsive, then you're in a state of decision fatigue. And the best thing I would suggest here on a practical point of view is write down all of the decisions on a piece of paper that you feel like you're continuously having to make, all of the things that keep resurfacing in your life, all of the problems which you feel you're solving now but keep popping up later. Just write them down and have a look at them, and then ask the question of, how could I solve this once and for all? Quick example of, if you're constantly having to figure out what to wear each day, as a trivial as that seems, just pick out 1 or 2 of your favourite outfits and just wear that every single day so you have more energy to focus elsewhere. If fashion is important for you, then obviously don't use that as an example. But if you're having to figure out, when am I going to go food shopping every single week, and that is popping up as a continuous example or a decision open loop, then just order your food 1 day every week, and when it's coming. It's coming on the weekend. Every Fridays I go food shopping. Boom, I know what to expect and I know when that's upcoming. And for the bigger decisions that you're making in life, always optimize for being in a state of replenishment as much as you can, and then make those decisions. And what that looks like is, if you've got a decision, for example, a relationship problem or a life design problem, like should I go to university or should I take this job, should I take this opportunity? If time is on your side, say to whoever is involved, I'm going to take 1 to 3 days to replenish my energy, not necessarily think about the decision, but replenish my energy, and then I'm going to decide. Long story short, when tired, optimize for replenishment and then make any big important decisions from that state of replenishment. Went a bit overboard there. But the second reason why we make bad decisions is emotional avoidance disguised as logic. You see, some decisions aren't rushed, they are escape attempts. Because maybe you're in a state where, thinking about this decision you have to make, that creates a bubble of discomfort where you feel uncertain, you feel the discomfort, you feel itchy, and you feel unsure. So that's naturally a negative, or not negative in the sense of it's bad, but those are uncomfortable things to feel, right? Uncertainty, the brain hates uncertainty. So whenever it's confronted with it, your brain goes down one line of thinking, which leads it to the cognitive bias of the action bias. When uncertain, your brain says, just do anything, because doing anything will give us a certain path to walk down, which is how you then rush a decision and you end up in a relationship that you don't want to be in because you rushed into something just so that you had anything. Act, your brain says, just take a certain path. To give you a quick example of how the action bias plays out in another domain, if you look at football, for example, the sport of football, when a player is taking a penalty kick, most of the time, or there's a certain chance, there's a 1 in 3 chance or so that he's going to shoot down the middle. But the goalkeeper is always, most of the time, going to dive to the left or right, because if the goalkeeper stands down the middle and the other player shoots to the left or right, then his teammates are going to look at him lazily and think, why didn't you just at least try? But he's in his right to stay down the middle because the shooter could have taken that option. But our brains don't work that way. We would much rather try and do something and fail rather than just sit in the space of uncertainty and discomfort. Now, the key thing to note here is when you make a decision from the place of emotional avoidance and it's disguised as logic, the problem isn't that your decisions are fast, because sometimes it's worth it to make a quick decision and act quickly in life. The problem with these types of decisions is they weren't made to serve a particular direction. They were just decisions made to avoid discomfort. So the thing to pay attention to here is understand that sometimes in life it's worth it to just wait and create space if you're unsure. And it is well within your right, especially within the relationships you're in, it's well within your right to say to people, I don't know yet. Oh, just hit the mic. I don't know. You don't have to be a shining beacon of certainty 100% of the time for the people in your life. You're allowed to say, I don't know, and I need some time to think about this. Never let a human being rush you, because the reason why people rush you is because an increase of speed is convenient to them, but it's not convenient to you. So if you feel like you're about to make a decision to avoid a feeling rather than serve a direction, stop, listen to the signal of, I just want to avoid discomfort, but this path I'm trying to walk down doesn't actually serve me, and then create the space to wait. As Robert Greene says, sometimes you just need to let the winter pass and let everything reveal itself. Right, I'm free-flowing with my thoughts, by the way, and yes, my knees are out because I'm in Marbella and it's sunny and I'm British and I've been deprived of the sun for the last 25 years of my life, and any chance to get my knees out, I'm doing it. Right, third reason why. Identity drift. When you're clear on who you are, your decisions are very simple and easy to make, especially when you have that space that you've cultivated, as we keep speaking about throughout this video. And what we mean by when you're clear on who you are is when you're clear on your values, your principles, your guiding compass, the internal moral compass that guides you in life, your religion, for example. When you're clear on your mission, when you're clear on your long-term self, decisions are easy because you just filter any new information through these things and boom, you know when your intuition is speaking and what is guiding you to. But when you're in a state of fatigue, physical and mental, emotional and spiritual depletion. You know, maybe there's relationship stress you're going through, work stress, geographical stress, you're uprooting your life. Then your brain is optimizing for your current mood, your current energy, and your current insecurity. And it gets you to make decisions from these places. Because one thing about the brain is that you need to understand when it comes to decision making is it sometimes it can only pay attention to the context in which it's in. So when you're in a certain context of depletion, your brain takes that psychological reality and boom, maps or uses it as if it's a pair of glasses you're wearing to interpret everything else that happens in your life and all the new information you're getting. And then your identity starts to drift because you start to get a sense of, oh, I'm losing myself, I don't know who I am anymore. All that means is you just need to reconnect to what your values are, what your mission is in life, and what your long-term self would want you to do in any given situation. Your values are those things that call to you, those words, you know, whether it's discipline, courage, spirituality, love, mission, purpose, progress. Write them down and then rank them. Because if you just want to reflect on your values in the sense of understanding yourself, just write them all down on a piece of paper. You know, those words and principles that stick out to you. They are like the stones that appear on the path in front of you, guiding what stone to step on next. But when it comes to decision making, the way you optimize your values is you write them down, you get clear on them, but then you rank them in order of importance. And I'll give you a quick example, right? My values, I would say off the top of my head, I probably have about 7 to 9. Some of them include my mental health, discipline, courage, love, playfulness, some of those sort. But if I don't rank them, and they're all as important as each other, and another value is family, of course. If I don't rank them, but then a situation comes up in my life where, for example, let's say I have the value of family and mental health, flourishing mental health, but my family ask me to do something which I feel contradicts my mental health. Okay, I'm then filtering the decision and information through those two values, but they both feel as important as each other. Well, then I'm going to be in a bit of a sticky situation as to whether to make this decision or not. But if I understand my value of flourishing mental health comes before my value of family, then if I feel like they want me to make a decision that contradicts my main value of mental health, then it's easier to say no to that decision because I know exactly what it's violating and at what cost this decision comes with. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, identity drift happens when you're in a state of psychological uncertainty in your life because your brain optimizes for your current mood, current energy, and current insecurity. So the key takeaway is when you feel like you're losing yourself and you're making bad decisions, use that as a signal to check in with your moral compass, your values, your mission, and what your long-term self would want you to do right now. And you'll notice that decisions become a lot easier once you have a internal, again, we keep using the word, but I love it, internal compass to guide your direction. When drifting, check in. The fourth reason. The fourth reason why we make bad decisions is due to nervous system activation. Now, this is somewhat similar to some points we've mentioned before, but I just wanted to mention it because it approaches what we're talking about from a slightly different angle. When a lot is going on in your life, or even just a few things are going on, but they are putting you in a heightened adrenaline state and your nervous system feels fried. Just to give you a quick example, for me, as some of you guys know, I'm in Marbella and I'm figuring out, okay, where geographically is the right place to go. I'm, wanting to be productive and make a lot of progress with this YouTube channel and help you guys. I'm also running my first online cohort, figuring out visas, being in a new environment, where's the local supermarket, where's this, and am I going to extend this Airbnb? There's a lot going on right now which requires me to be in quite an optimized high level state. And what I've noticed is that all I've wanted is certainty, resolution and control, which is what any nervous system wants when it's in a state of high activation. So have a little think about the again, the things that are demanding your time right now and energy, and just notice which ones of them are putting you in a certain activated high adrenaline, high cortisol state. And understand that naturally from that place, you're going to want to rush decisions and you're going to want to make them quickly to achieve these things. So what I would say is, in order to prevent yourself from rushing certain decisions in the future from this state, is, well, if you understand your nervous system is in a state of activation, that's when your self-regulation tools are going to come in really handy, and you need to use them and stabilize your life with them, from the perspective of understanding that until you do that, you're going to continue to want to rush decisions. What do I mean by this? If the gym is important for you, it's now non-negotiable. Sleep is now non-negotiable, 7 to 8 hours a night. And if you feel like your mind is a mess whenever you're going to bed because you can't stop thinking about this decision, journaling is now non-negotiable. Whatever work, these are just examples, but whatever works for you, those things that help you calm down after you do them and restore you with energy, they are now non-negotiable, because you have to take care of yourself throughout this process if you feel like you're making bad decisions. And those bad decisions are going to continue until you give yourself the regulation that your nervous system is craving, whatever it looks like for you. For example, for me, I was ill for about 5 days. I had a virus, I was throwing up and other stuff as well. But I had no energy to do my walks. I couldn't go to the gym. So I had to rely on other ways in order to self-regulate. But now I'm better. It's such a, oh my God, everything is changing moment, because I'm now going on my walks at night or during the day and talking to myself out loud. That's my form of therapy. That's my practice of certainty, because I know I can control it. I'm going and training calisthenics on the beach, and that gives me the sense of control, because even though there's other stuff in my life going on right now which I feel slightly as if I don't have full control over, I can control when I go to the calisthenics park. I can control when I go on a walk and talk to myself out loud. I can control when I cook for myself. So reclaim the control that your nervous system wants by developing your practices of certainty. If you want to learn a little bit more about that, then check out this video we specifically done about improving your mental health. So did I mention the main point? There. Yeah, you rush decisions to reduce internal tension, not because they're wise, just because they lower activation. Yeah, key takeaway is you don't have to lower that activation by rushing decisions. You can lower that activation through self-soothing. Okay, last 2 reasons why we make bad decisions are. The second to last reason is due to lack of recovery. Mentioned it somewhat in that last point, but I just wanted to mention one more point. It's a given that the higher your screen time is, the less you sleep, the less you're exercising, the less you're going out and moving and doing the self-regulatory practices, the worse your decisions in life are going to be. But there's one thing I just wanted to mention, which I've realised for myself over the last few days, is I want you to pay attention to how you digest things. Because this word recovery, of course, we can use in a physical sense of, okay, are you recovering with sleep and exercise and replenishment, with nutrition? But also, how do you recover after emotional experiences happen in your life, or information is gathered in response to a certain decision? Quick example of this. I have realised recently I do not process things socially. Sometimes I do, and there's been a lot of conversations I've had recently with loved ones about certain decisions we have to make together, and I feel like I just haven't been getting anywhere in our conversations, and I realised that it's because I don't really process things socially. Yeah, one of my values is healthy, honest communication in my relationships, but that for me serves the purpose of letting the other person involved in my life know what's going on inside me, internally, in my inner world, so they're not left guessing. But if I don't then take time in my life to process things in solitude, I notice that the energy I bring to my conversations is one of a bloatedness. You know, after a heavy meal when you don't feel like you've digested anything and it's taken forever to go down. That's how I feel if I keep talking about things socially, especially when it comes to decision making. And pay attention to this for yourself. You might be the complete opposite, where you need to talk about things in order to process it. And sometimes it's a balance. But if there are things that have happened in your life emotionally and you feel like you need to digest them and then make a decision going forward, don't be. It's just like it's within your right to tell people you don't know yet. It's well within your right to tell people, I need some time alone to digest what is happening. Doesn't mean I'm leaving you. Doesn't mean I'm going to break this off. It doesn't mean I'm abandoning this process. In order for me to show up, I need to digest what is going on, and I need to do some slow thinking about this. And then you go on a walk, and then you journal. You don't fill that time with scrolling and with anything that is going to pile on top of your digestion process. No, you cultivate the solitude you need to digest this experience and whatever it has gone on so that you can go forward. It's almost as if you're taking one step back to then take a few steps forward. Here's a quick tool, another video, if you would, somewhere up here, if you would like to learn a very specific skill which will help you digest this. Walking and talking to yourself out loud. It goes into the science of why that works so much. So that's something big I've realised recently, and it's been really nice to communicate that to the people in my life because it helps them understand my brain and how it works. You have a moral obligation to teach other people how your brain works, rather than showing up with undigested energy and then suddenly the decision-making process is gone a little bit wonky. I need a few days to process this. This is what I'm going to do. I'll see you in a bit, for example. Just pay attention to that. Okay, last reason. Now, the final one is a bit tricky. Subtle self-betrayal momentum. This is really the hidden reason why we make bad decisions and continue to make them. You see, every time you make a misaligned decision, or you override one of your values or principles, or you overstep it without actually updating it, yourself, I don't know what we could put it as, but your self-confidence and integrity gradually erodes 2% each time. Oh, another misaligned decision is made. 2%, 2%, 2%, until you reach this weird spot where you just question, why do I feel weird? And it's because when you make one misaligned decision, it's easier to make another misaligned decision until your standards slowly start dropping. There's this really weird thing about the human mind where when you act out of line with your values and principles, you change your values and principles to align with your behavior. And you have to be really careful with that because it's easy to excuse the decisions you're making if they're misaligned in the moment. But it is incredibly scary and a horrible place to be once you reflect and you realise with each decision I've been making, all these micro decisions, I've been betraying myself. So the key, awareness is always the solution to the problem. Once you become aware of this, when you understand the problem, that is to solve it. So it is the same case here. Once you understand that it's going to be easier for you to override your values and principles and make misaligned decisions the more you do it, just in the same way as if you lie once, it's easier to lie again and again and again. Once you understand that that is always within our capability, you become more aware of the decisions that you make and how they are going to affect you long term. But I would say another solution here is just don't ignore that weird feeling. Don't ignore it. And if you feel like the micro decisions you've made have led to this point, then understand that it happens to all of us. Maybe you felt pressured because you was in a relationship or you didn't want to hurt the other person, or, you didn't want to be perceived badly from other people involved. That's why you made these micro misaligned decisions. So give yourself the compassion to understand that it happens to all of us. But once you recognise it's going on, you have to stop it. Because if you continue, 2% becomes 200%, and then boom, you are living a life which you which is a nightmare. It's a living nightmare, because it is a terrible place to be when you are living misaligned with your values and actions, and you feel your self-respect has eroded with each slight decision you've made. So, just like we covered in the solution for point number, I think it was point number, which one was it? Identity drift. Point number 3. Use that weird feeling as the signal you need to pay attention to then recheck in with your values and your principles. As long as you cover them, as long as you get clear on what values are actually guiding you and what you want to live in line with, your past decisions become fuel that you can use to never repeat. That's the benefit of regret. Regret serves a huge purpose, so don't deny yourself the benefit of having regrets in life. Say, I regret that decision. There's plenty of decisions I regret. Loads, absolutely loads. But I tell you one thing, I'm not going to I'm not going to do them again, because that regret is now being used as instruction for me to do or not do certain things in the future. Sorry, I just bashed the microphone. Signal. I feel weird. Check in with your values and live in line with them. And that's all you've got to do for the rest of your life. Just live in line with your values. But you have to give yourself the compassion to admit, okay, I'm going down a dark path right now and I'm feeling misaligned. This happens to a lot of people. It's not just me. But I don't want this to continue for myself, so let me check in with my values. That's all you got to do. Right, here's a quick tool which will help you make infinitely better decisions going forward. Whenever you are confronted with a decision in your life, be it big, whenever you are confronted with a decision in your life, be it small, medium or big, ask this question and you'll know whether you should make that decision or not. If I was fully rested, grounded and proud of myself today, would I still choose this? That's it. 6 reasons why, and a quick little tool to leave on. The 6 reasons were decision fatigue, emotional avoidance disguised as logic, identity drift, nervous system overactivation, lack of recovery, and then subtle self-betrayal momentum. If I was fully rested, grounded, and proud of myself today, would I still choose this? No? Don't do it. Yes? Do it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Stay disciplined, playful, and dangerous. Adios, muchachos y muchachas.